Mellow greetings, Engineer Bob here. Welcome back to Starting Luna, our tutorial series where we've begun our start on the moon. Beginning with our lunar rover, we've been able to run around and get some materials. We then started our small little base, which is powered by solar first, then a little bit of hydrogen later. And now we've got ourselves a little rover that actually is kind of morphed into more of a flying machine now to help us traverse some distances. We've gone over a bunch of issues that can happen on a server, whether it be from PvP or we see here in some of the footage where the server lag either rubber bands you around or just causes a lack of input and desynchronization. Traveling around on the moon has presented its own challenges too. Seeing a lot of my footage, I try to go a little faster than I probably should, and that usually results in my craft flying all over the place, kind of necessitating the need for hydrogen thrusters to save the craft. Most of this footage is just going back and forth to mines and digging out new mines as I need to get more material. In this footage, I'm starting another mine. This one's going out for platinum. You notice how I've continued on with the same method of getting my initial slope started and then just kind of maintaining the gradual grade. By looking at the little horizon icon, I can keep that grade under control as I mine my way down into the material there. In many instances, this would have gone a lot faster if you just knew what you were doing, but took a lot of time to explain what I was doing and then did some things that were less efficient for the sake of the tutorial. Overall, once you do get your base established like I have, you'll be making lots of material runs back and forth to get whatever you were lacking at the time, and then just kind of playing the game back and forth with filling up your industry with resources and waiting for it to refine down. You can always speed up this process by getting more refineries or assemblers online, but I've left my build simple for right now because I don't intend to stay here forever, so I don't really need to scale up. As nice as my little miner is, I do think it needs a few more upgrades, and so I'm going to go ahead and do those. Another little time lapse of the build here, adding on my last few drills that are available to me in the server, as well as a few more thrusters to help it fly. I don't usually have a solid idea of what I'm doing when I go into these things. I just kind of make it up as I go along. And you can see how the original rover had a bit of character, looking like it was more of an industrial vehicle, has now kind of ballooned into something more akin to a brick. It just has loads of components all over it, and it's lost a lot of its second kind of cool capability. Right now, it's almost all first kind of cool, which is functionality. So I have a rover that can drive, and then it's also somewhat capable of flight. Travel time can take up a lot of your time, especially when you don't have a jump drive. And here I need to go on the quest to find some ice. The best place for ice on the moon is at the pole, where you'll see an entire field of ice. So I'm just going to lift off and try to head off in some direction, getting a really high speed and altitude. That way it'll help me spot ice from further away and allow me to conserve hydrogen, because I don't have to continuously burn my fuel as I fight against the moon's gravity. Even though it is a small gravity of 0.25 g at the surface, that's still fuel that I don't want to have to expend if I don't have to. Unfortunately, my timing wasn't very good, and as I embarked to the polar journey, the server was starting to do a restart. The public servers will do that every 6 hours or so, and it gives you warnings from Goodbot in the chat. And thereabouts is when everyone tends to freak out and start saying odd things in the chat about it being the end of the world. It's just the server about to do a restart, and it doesn't typically destroy you or end everything that's going on. What it will do is pause the game, and then the server will do a restart and it will start up. As long as you stay logged in, your temporary ships should be maintained and you will not disconnect. Your computer will automatically reconnect to the server once it becomes available. However, once the server does come up, the server continues to increment forward with time. So if you're not logged in when that happens, whatever was going on is still going to go on. So in that case, it's forcing me to make a quick landing a little bit short of the pole, and that way I don't have to worry about not being on the surface or somewhere stable, just in case I wasn't in the most safest place at the restart. I could have just parked myself in orbit in 0G, but landing seemed like it was the safest way to go through. And that tends to be what I want to do if I ever want to wait out the server restart. Just get to somewhere safe. Usually your cryopod's a great place to do it, and just wait for the restart to time out. So unfortunately, on my way in, I did smash that thruster that was on the front of my vehicle, kind of forcing me to drive my way back home. So that's what I began to do here. In some of these places, I got a pretty high speed going on some open terrain and got some good air, so I was able to cover some good distance and get some nice footage out of it. Again, traveling over the surface on a rover can take a while, but sometimes the views are just worth it. Sim speed is dipping down pretty bad. 7.5. The sim speed is normally around 1, which is where you want it, but we're dipping down into 7.5, you see there, and I'll bet if we keep this up, we'll see it dip even lower. Oh, we're out of power again. Dang it. Let's turn that engine back on. Power on. 5 megs. There we go. So phase 2 of my clever plan is to get out of here. And to do that, I'm going to need a little help. So let's try to frame something up here. I'm going to get this little strut off the base here framed up. Then I'm going to begin the capstone project, our escape vehicle. So, till next time, go forth and build great things.